Hey guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So I have yet another end of the year video for you guys, and these are going to be all of my surprising reads of 2023. So what I mean by surprising is these are books that I was not expecting to enjoy as much as I did. Some of these come from authors I've never read from before. A few of these are authors that I have read from before, but maybe their book that I did read from them wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, so I was kind of hesitant in going into another book. Authors who are redeeming themselves from a bad book that they did, and then some hyped books that I just didn't think that I was going to like, and I ended up liking them. So these are my surprising reads. I have already posted all of my DNFs for 2023, so I will have that video linked in case you guys are interested. But we are going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to start kind of in the order that I read these. Some of these might be out of order a little bit, but that's fine. I'm going to try to keep them in the order from when I read them. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first book that I have here is All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. This is a adult mystery. This one follows a couple. We're primarily following the wife, Isabel, and in the middle of the night, their 2-year-old son was taken from his crib. And so they have been trying everything that they could do to figure out what happened, who could have taken their son. I think it's been like a year later, maybe, since this has happened, and they are still looking. She gets approached by this true crime podcaster who wants to take a look into her case, do some interviews, and try to help her figure out what happened to her son. I rated this one 5 stars. The reason why this one was so surprising for me is because I read Flicker in the Dark first, which was this author's debut novel, and I enjoyed it, but towards the end, it was just very predictable with like the twist and the reveals in that one. This one started off slower than Flicker in the Dark did, so I was already going into it like, uh-oh, I'm definitely not gonna like this as much as Flicker. But once the story picked up, I was invested. The twists and the reveals that happened at the end, I could not have predicted. I did not predict them. Our main character, Isabel, is what you would consider an unreliable narrator. She suffers from sleep deprivation. There are some flashback chapters that kind of go into that, but that made the story more interesting because you couldn't really believe everything that she was saying or everything that she was trying to remember. And then this also just touched on motherhood and what it feels like to lose a child. And so I just had a really good time with this. So then we have number 8 in the Wayward Children series, which is Lost in the Moment and Found by Shauna McGuire. I've actually talked about this one a couple of times so far on my channel this year, and I adored this one. This is my favorite one out of the 8 that are in the series. I rated this one 5 stars. I'm pretty sure this is the only one that has received a 5-star from me so far. We are following our main character, Antoinette, and she has recently lost her father. I believe she's like around like 5 or 6. She's pretty young. Her mother decides to start another relationship, but the guy that she is in a relationship is not the best, and he is basically starting to try and groom Antoinette, and she is feeling very uncomfortable and doesn't really like this new relationship or the guy that her mother is with. And so with all of these books that are in this series, this is a portal fantasy. And so she gets transported to this like shop where people's lost and found things come, and then people are transported there to try to retrieve their lost items. We do get to see some characters from some of the other books, but I just thought that this was so wonderfully done. Like I said, Antoinette was dealing with some grooming, but Shauna McGuire wrote it in a way that she didn't have to make it too graphic for you to understand what was going on, which I can appreciate. Sometimes I don't need everything to be so graphic. And I just feel like she wrote it beautifully. And then the world that she was transported to, I also enjoyed that. I enjoyed the characters that she came across in this world. I like seeing the other characters from the other books, which I always like in her stories. So this one, I thought it was just so well done. And I've never like cried while reading a story, but this one was close. This one almost brought me to tears, just reading this girl's story. So I don't necessarily feel like you have to read all of the books in the series in order. I think you will miss a couple of things as far as like characters that come from different books. But if you are not sure about whether or not you should start the Wayward Children series, I think you should start with this one if you're not sure. This, like I said, hands down is the best one in the series, and I just adored the story. So then next we have Nana by Brandon Massey. So I'm not sure if I would have picked this up or if it would have still been a little while before I picked this one up, but I specifically read this one because Gabby over at Gabby Reads did this for her Book Troop book club. So I wanted to follow along, so I picked this up. This was a wild and crazy time. So in this, we are following this woman and her husband, basically her family. And her name is Monica, I think. Yes, Monica. At the very beginning of this, she is attending a funeral for a loved one who I think raised her, because she never knew who her real parents were. And so at the funeral, this lady by the name of Grace, she's an older woman, comes and says, "Hey, I'm your mother." And so Monica was like, "Great, you can come and stay with us." And Troy is giving this woman the side eye. While Nana, Grace, they call her Nana, while she is staying with Monica and Troy starts to realize there are some strange things happening with this strange woman. He realizes that she locks herself in these rooms and he doesn't really never know what she's doing. And then over the course of the time that she's there, Monica is starting to look like she's aging rapidly. Meanwhile, Nana looks like she's getting younger. And so we follow Troy as he is trying to figure out who truly is this woman, and this was crazy. There were some crazy things that happened. I will never think about a tongue in the same way. This just took me for a loop. I was not a fan of the ending because I just don't think it wrapped up in the way that it was supposed to, but everything that happened in between, I was just shook. I did listen to this on audio. I would highly recommend this on audio. I actually got my mom to listen to this on audio and she really enjoyed it, and she's not like an audiobook person. But yeah, this was like a fun time trying to figure out who Nana really is. So on Goodreads, I gave this 3 stars. I think that's a bit low. Not really sure what I was thinking when I did that. This is more like 4 stars. I can give it a full 5 just because of the ending, in my opinion. But this was a good time. If you have not read anything from Brandon Massey, I would suggest that you pick up Nana. So then I have A Flaw in the Design by Nathan Coates, which is a adult psychological suspense mystery. And this is a book that has stuck with me way after I read it. I think I read it back in March, April-ish. And this is still a book that I think about randomly till this day. So in this, we follow our main character, Gil, and he learns that his nephew's parents, which would be his sister and her husband, have died in a horrific car accident. And so Gil and his family agree to take in Matthew. They don't want to, but they agree to because they will be compensated for taking him in. And so Matthew comes from a really wealthy background, which is something that Gil was really jealous of. He was jealous of the lifestyle that his sister was living. And so we get some backstory into the relationship between Gil and his sister. We get to see some insight into Matthew because he has had some behavioral problems. So while Matthew is staying with Gil and his family, some strange things start to happen, and Gil is always on edge around Matthew because he believes that he might have had something to do with that accident, and he is well aware of his behavioral issues. And Gil is an English professor, and Matthew decides to take his class, and one of the stories Matthew writes is about how he would kill his family. How he would kill Gil's family. And so that really sets Gil off, and Gil is trying to find out stuff about Matthew, trying to listen in on things that listen in on Matthew's conversations. He's trying to follow him around. But Matthew is very smart to be, I think, like 17 years old. And he knows that his uncle is kind of like looking into him. And like through this whole book, Matthew is like taunting Gil and egging Gil on, but acting really sweet in front of the rest of the family. I enjoyed this. This is slow. There were parts that were slower than I would have liked them to be. But it just had me on edge from the time that I started it to the end of it. I love the ending of this. And I said this in one of my reviews I did for this, where it seems like this would have been like one of those old Lifetime type of movies, and I love those. I have not heard anyone else say anything about this book, and I really want other people to read this because I'm so curious to know what other people would think. But if you are a person that likes slower paced, suspenseful mysteries and you're really into the characters, I think that you would enjoy this because I definitely did, and that's not really my thing when it comes to like mysteries, but this was just so good, and I ended up giving this one 4 stars. So next I have Drama Free, A Guide to Managing Unhealthy Family Relationships by Nedra Glover Tawwab, and this is like a self-help book. I felt like I read it at a time where you need to read something like this, and it just really spoke to me. And this is just all about family relationships and how, you know, even though people are your family, they shouldn't take advantage of you and what to do in certain family situations, whether you are dealing with like step parents, in-laws. It just gives you a lot of tips, a lot of conversation points, and I really, really, really enjoyed this. Well, you can't really see that, but I tabbed this book up. I underlined several things. This is like one of those books that I think that I would refer to in the future, but this is a really good book. If you are struggling in your family or maybe even in some of your friendships, I think you could take a few points from this. And this is like one of those nonfictions, self-help books that I would always recommend because I think you can use this in a lot of different situations. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I have not given it a lot of love on my channel. It's just not one that has fit in a lot of conversations that I've been having on my channel, but I would definitely recommend this one. So next we have The Last Word by Taylor Adams. So this is a adult thriller. So I have only read one other book by Taylor Adams, which was No Exit, which is very popular here on BookTube. It is like another one of those BookTube darlings, and I thought it was fine. I think I rated that one like 3 stars. I definitely didn't think it was as good as everyone was saying that it was. So when The Last Word came out, I was kind of hesitant to pick this up, but then I started seeing, again, a lot of good reviews, so I got it. So I was not disappointed when I got into this one, and this is silly. If you do not like just silly stories that don't take itself too seriously, this might not work for you. But if you're in the mood where you want to read a thriller that's more like on the lighter side, I guess, this one probably will work for you. So we're following our main character, Emma. She is house sitting at like this remote location on a beach, and she is recommended a horror novel to read, which she did not like, and she rated it 1 star. And the author reaches out to her because they're angry that she did not like their story, and they're even more upset that she posted a 1-star review and wanted her to take it down, and Emma's like, no, I'm not taking it down. And then all of a sudden she is beginning to be stalked by who she assumes is this author who is angry with her. Like I said, this is very silly, but it's really action-packed. A lot is going on in this one location, which sometimes can be a hard read if like people aren't really going from place to place and they're just stuck in one location. But this really worked for this story. I liked the character of Emma. We get a lot of backstory on her because there is a particular reason on why she is house sitting at this particular location. And I liked a lot of the twists and the reveals at the end. But I rated this 4 stars because like really towards the end, I think we started getting too many reveals that weren't really needed, and it kind of just made me be like, what? Why are we going there? But for the most part, I loved everything about this one. And I would say if you've never read any of Taylor Adams' books, to read this one because it was just the most entertaining one to me. So next I have The Only One Left by Riley Sager, another adult mystery thriller by this author. This one is a surprise because I have enjoyed the majority of Riley Sager's books. The book that he released last year, The Last House on the Lake, the house across the lake, I did not enjoy that at all. I actually enjoyed about 70% of that, and the ending killed it for me. So I went into this with a lot of hesitation because I was not really sure what type of direction that his books were going to start to go, but I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 5 stars. So this one follows Kit. It follows our main character, Kit. And this takes place in like the 1980s, and she is a home care nurse. And so she gets assigned to take care of this woman by the name of Lenora Hope. Now, Lenora Hope, back in the day, her family was slaughtered, and there is even like a riddle about it, and it had always been assumed that Lenora Hope was the one who had killed her family, but she had gotten away with it. And so nobody really wants to be at this house that's on a cliff with Lenora Hope, who is the supposed murderer. But Kit has no other choice because there were some issues that went on with her last patient. So if she wants to work, Lenora Hope is the woman that she's gonna have to take care of. Lenora has had a lot of strokes, and so she's not able to speak. She can only use one hand. And so Kit is in it for the long haul because she has to take care of Lenora. And within like the first couple of days, she is informed by Lenora, who can type on a typewriter with her one hand, that she is ready to tell her story about the night her family died. And so Kit is trying to learn through Lenora's stories that are told in various chapters through like a typewritten story. So it's like a book within a book, and she is learning what actually took place that night Lenora's family died. I really enjoyed this from start to finish. I enjoyed Kit and learning about her backstory and why she actually has to take care of Lenora. I loved like slowly learning about what happened the night Lenora Hope's family died. I also liked the other little side characters that we got here and there that worked at the house. There's like the main caretaker of the house. There's like a groundskeeper guy, another like maid, a cook, who we all follow in this story. And I really loved it. I loved the all of the twists and the reveals at the end, because there are a lot. I think like the last third of this story, we are getting hit with a different reveal that I really enjoyed. And Riley Sager did his big one with this one, because this was a huge step up from The House Across the Lake. Yes, The House Across the Lake. So I really enjoyed this one. And if you have not read it because you are hesitant to read it, I suggest that you do, because I think you would at the very least like this one. So then I have a horror novel by Chuck Tingle called Camp Damascus. I actually never heard of this author before, so I honestly did not know what to expect when I started this, but I really enjoyed it. So in this one, we follow our main character, Rose. I believe she lives in Montana, and she comes from a really religious town. Her parents are really religious. She herself is really religious. I think even her school is really religious. So that's a thing in this story. And so in this, we find out that in this town, there is this camp that's called Camp Damascus that is a gay conversion camp with a 100% conversion rate. So anybody who goes there gay is not going to walk out gay. We follow Rose as she is starting to develop these feelings that she shouldn't have for the same sex. But every time she has these feelings, they manifest into something that's horrific. And it starts to scare her, and she eventually realizes what those manifestations are and what they're doing, and it somehow relates back to Camp Damascus. I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed where this story went, the direction that it took. I liked learning about Camp Damascus and what these people were actually doing at this camp. I had a vlog specifically where I was reading this book along with some other horror books, where I was saying that I really wished we got more time at like Camp Damascus, which I still feel that way. But even though you don't spend a lot of time there, Camp Damascus is definitely at the forefront of this story. And I just liked everything that happened and like these manifestations that were taking place, not only to Rose, but to other people. And so if you haven't picked up a Chuck Tingle like me, I would definitely suggest this one. It's very eye-opening in regards to like certain religions and how serious they are about people who are into same-sex relationships. So yeah, this was very interesting, but I also really enjoyed it, and I gave this one 4 stars. So the last surprising book of 2023 would have to be Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, a adult, I believe we're calling this a romantasy. And going into this one, I did not think that I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. There is so much hype surrounding this one. I don't think so much for that second book, but there was so much hype around this one that I was really nervous to go into it because I just did not know how I was going to feel. But I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. So in this one, we are in a world where people go to, I think it's called like Baysgate Academy. It's divided up into like 4 quadrants, and within whatever quadrant you are, you have to learn that particular thing. So for Violet, who was about to attend this academy for the first time, she is going into the writer's quadrant to become a dragon rider, which is the most dangerous quadrant you could be a part of. She doesn't want to. She would rather be a scribe like her father, but her mother was a part of the writer's quadrant and is basically forcing her to go. It's really dangerous. A lot of people don't make it out, and basically you are trying to get through your first year so that you can bond with a dragon that has a lot of magic. And so we are watching Violet as she is trying to get through her first year. She's trying to bond with the dragon. She's meeting other students. Meanwhile, there are some other things that is brewing in the background in this world. And I really enjoyed this. I loved the dragons, which I think is everyone's favorite part. I love the school setting of this and just how dangerous it is because people are always dying. I would be devastated if I had to be a part of this quadrant. And I actually liked Violet and this love triangle that she was a part of and the tension that was building throughout the story. So, like I said, I gave this 4 stars. This was way better than I expected, and I'm surprised that I enjoyed it. But I'm not really sure how I'm gonna feel about that second one, Iron Flame, because I haven't really been hearing the best things about that one. But Fourth Wing, I did enjoy. So those are all of the books that have surprised me in 2023, books that I was just not expecting to love. I will have my books that I DNF'd in 2023 linked for you guys in case you are interested. And I'll also have any videos where I have like dedicated reviews and more in-depth discussions in case you guys are interested in that as well. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.